Out of the flames of fear, we rise with courage of our deepest convictions to stand for justice, inclusion, and peace. Out of the flames of scrutiny, we rise to proclaim our faith with hope to heal a fractured and hurting world. Out of the flames of doubt, we rise to embrace the mystery, wonder, and awe of all there is and all that is yet to be. Out of the flames of hate, we rise with the force of love, love that celebrates our shared humanity. Out of the flames, we rise. Welcome to yet another new way to worship here. Welcome to the Unitarian Church of Los Alamos in diaspora. Welcome into my home, welcome into our homes, and thank you for welcoming us into your home today. Take this moment to pause now. Take a deep breath and create for yourself some form of sacred space. Sacred space in the physical space in front of you with your own chalice at home or candles, or at the very least some sacred space in your own mind and heart as we prepare for worship. Shut out all the other distractions that might be around you. Turn off your telephone, close all the tabs in your browser, turn off the television. Call to mind all of your friends and neighbors who you get to see on Sunday mornings. And think of them with joy amidst the sorrow we may feel of not being able to see them as frequently. Know that you are together today in spirit, watching this worship in your own time. Know that in one way or another we are sharing this moment together. And let us begin. The words of today's prayer come to us from my colleague, the Reverend Florence Caplow. Eternal and beloved, gracious source of all life and all love, we come together this morning grateful for this time out of time, which we are setting apart so that we might become more fully present to ourselves, to each other, and to that which we call holy. May our joys be celebrated together, our wounds be healed together, our hearts be opened together. Spirit, on yet another strange Sunday, we gather together in new ways, linked to each other through the delicate tracery of electrons and through the invisible bonds of caring and love, sharing with millions the wondering and fear and uncertainty of this time. May each of us stay well and whole. May each of us find our ground of strength and clarity. May each of us let our hearts break open to new ways of caring for our neighbors as ourselves. May each of us know, even if we are alone, that we are held in a great embrace of love. All this we pray in the names of those known and unknown, present and absent, remembered and forgotten, in the names of all the helpers of humankind. Amen.
A Beautiful Tiger, written by Chris Buice. There once was a beautiful and powerful tiger. One day, she was captured by a mean and cruel man who put her into a cage. The man kept the cage in the jungle, not far from his house. Every day he would bring out a bowl of water and some food for the lonely tiger. Sometimes the tiger would see her own reflection in the bowl of water, and she would say, "My, I must be a beautiful tiger." When the man heard this, he would lie and tell her, "No, you are not a beautiful tiger. You're very ugly. You are a pitiful creature." Sadly, the tiger would believe the man. Some days, after she ate her food, she would walk back and forth in her small cage and feel energy and power moving through her body. And she would say, "My, I must be a powerful tiger." When the man heard her say this, he would lie and tell her, "No, you are weak and puny. You are a pitiful creature." Sadly, the tiger would believe the man. Then, one day, when the man was nowhere around, a lion happened to walk by the cage. The lion saw the tiger inside and spoke to her. "Beautiful and powerful tiger, what are you doing lying about in that cage?" "Do not make fun of me," replied the tiger. "I know that I am neither beautiful nor powerful." "I'm not making fun of you," said the lion. "You are surely the most beautiful and powerful tiger I have ever seen. I am only surprised to see you lying here when you are clearly strong enough to break out of that cage." "You really think I could break out of here?" said the tiger. "Quite easily, I should think," replied the lion. The tiger was not so sure at first. She had been told many times that she was weak and a pitiful creature. But suddenly, it seemed she could feel energy and strength moving through her body. She began to pace back and forth in her cage. And then, almost without a thought, she leapt against the door, and it flew open without any resistance. Once outside, she seemed dazed. "That cage didn't even have a lock on it," she said. "I spent so much time of my life stuck in there, and the door wasn't even locked." The lion looked at her and said, "Those kinds of traps don't need locks, for it is the lies we believe in that keep us in our cages, and it is the truth that sets us free." The end. So today, for your intention table activity, you can create your own tiger cage with a door that opens to set the tiger free. You can use Legos or whatever other building blocks you might have, or other supplies in your house.
Our reading today comes from the late Reverend Marjorie Bowens-Wheatley and her essay Toward Wholeness and Liberation in the collection Essex Conversations. The classic liberal vision seeks to make free, to provide opportunities for individuals to realize freedom, but stops short of confronting systems that stand in the way of freedom. By contrast, the liberationist vision sees structures of oppression as inhibitors of freedom and seeks new relationships that lead to freedom from oppression. Liberationists believe that good works by the middle class, including some reformist social programs, are not enough to overcome structural oppression. Paul Razor suggests that what is needed is a radical realignment of the social and economic order. The liberationist goal, therefore, is to call society into account for social injustice and to transform oppressive social structures. Liberation theology seeks to restore right relationships. It is not a one-time event, but recognizes the need for an ongoing process of struggle to preserve and uphold freedom, justice, and equality. Liberalism has a tendency to view freedom in the abstract. Liberationists get specific and ask the critical question, freedom for whom? To do what? Today marks Palm Sunday in the Christian calendar, a day when Christians around the world mark the triumphant entry of Jesus into the city of Jerusalem, when hundreds met him at the city gates to proclaim him to be the Messiah, the King, the person who would liberate them from their oppression under their Roman overseers. And yet, one of Jesus' first acts that week in Jerusalem was not to take on the Roman overlords, but to attack the economic base of the city itself, to literally upend the money changers and the merchants in the temple. And this was not what the people who greeted him as a liberator expected. And by the end of that week, some of those very same people who had greeted him triumphantly had turned on him. Because the liberation that Jesus had come to proclaim was not a simple transfer of power with the maintenance of the status quo, but a complete upending of an economic system that's kept some people in poverty while others profited. People were discomforted by the notion that things would have to change so radically. Now, this is not just a story from the past. It is a story that repeats itself throughout history, and indeed, it is part of our own story as members of a liberal faith. That liberal religion that we proclaim is one of proclaiming freedom, a liberation for all. And indeed, as our Universalist forebears would preach, none of us were truly free until all of us were free. But as Marjorie Bowens-Wheatley writes in her essay, often we, as members of a liberal religion, stop short of true transformation, stop short of confronting the systems that get in the way of freedom for others. We stop short because we feel discomfort in the thought that our own normalcy might have to change, that the status quo that keeps us comfortable might have to change. The status quo is on our minds quite a bit in the current moment. I know we are all wondering, I know I am wondering, when will things get back to normal? But I think we all know deep down that normal won't be the same. Things will not be the same when we come out the other side of this moment. The current epidemic has shone a bright light on a number of current and long-standing, long-lived injustices. We are seeing daily now stories about people who have always struggled with access to resources, with access to ready food, with access to health care. We are seeing stories about who is truly essential in the workplace to keep the machine of this country running. And we see who is now considered essential that still somehow does not make a living wage. We are seeing now who is being required to shelter in a place that might not be safe for them. And we're seeing who has no space at all to shelter in. This epidemic shows no prejudice. We are all affected by it to some degree or another, and the virus does not pass anyone by because of their wealth or their status, but it will disproportionately affect those who live on the margins, those who live with some form or another of oppression because they don't have access to what is needed to protect themselves in the same way that we do. It is difficult to face in this moment. It is hard to think about it. There's a desire not to think about it. It is difficult in this moment to have the energy to do anything about these long-standing injustices in our world that we can see so starkly and so clearly right now. What can we do? All of our energy, emotional and physical, is sunk into just getting our own families and our own selves by. But I ask you today, as these stories come to light, as this vision becomes clear, even in the midst of your energy being used to just get by day to day, do not look away from the truth that is being shown. File those stories away. Mark them with a star in your inbox. Save them into your saved stories on your Facebook page. Put them into your Evernote or whatever keeper you might use online so you can still read those stories. Hold them in your heart and in your memory. And remember that what is normal for us, what is the status quo for us, those of us who are privileged to have a safe space to shelter in, who have access to food and to medical care, remember that what is normal for us is oppression for others. And know that this truth needs to be shared. That when we pass through this current moment in our own shared story, when we come out the other side into whatever this is going to be, know that we need to share those stories. Make sure that they are continued to be told, that you are telling them, that we do not forget what we have seen in those moments, and tell this truth without ending. Because this truth, told over and over again by us, will lead to freedom for all. Because none of us are truly free until all of us are free. Now, this freedom, whatever it looks like, will take us away from our comfortable place. It will change the status quo. But friends, the status quo was going to shift no matter what at the end of this. Things were going to change already. The question today is, can we learn to live with the discomfort we will feel in this change? Can we embrace this discomfort and learn to appreciate it as growing pains for our human family? If nothing is ever going to be normal again, if the status quo is going to change, and our comfortable place is going to be upended and disrupted, then let us learn to live into the uncomfortable. Live into the uncomfortable promise of our faith, and find our true freedom in the liberation of others. As always, we continue our offering on behalf of community charitable partners, even though we are worshiping apart. The month of April is dedicated to our friends at the Juvenile Justice Advisory Board. The link to their website and the link to their donation button is in the notes for the service below. Please click on that link and learn about how they are helping empower youth and families here in Los Alamos, and give as generously as you can, and may what you give bring you joy. Friends, may life bless us and keep us. May the light of life shine upon us and out from within us and be gracious to us and bring us peace. For this is the day. This is the one wild and precious life we are all given. So let us all find a way to rejoice and be glad in it. Go in peace.